Flow state. As explained by Ego, this is a mental state in which a person performing some activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement, and enjoyment in the process of the activity. Almost every flow state in the series is exclusive and unique to one person, usually boosting the skill that they excel at. As you can tell by the title and thumbnail, today I'm going to be going over and ranking the top flow states. Now, due to the nature of the flow states, that being that they're very specific and don't usually cover all stats, I'll be ranking them by how much they can actually help a player in a game. This includes for support purposes, attack purposes, and defending purposes, so that every flow state I go over has a fair chance of being ranked high. Instead of going over literally every flow state in the series, I'll be going over my top 5 in the Blue Lock facility, first in no particular order, just explaining them and what we see from them, and near the end of the video, I'll be ranking them in my own opinion and giving my reasons. Before beginning, I wanted to say that if you enjoy Blue Lock content, make sure to like and subscribe, as usually I don't do this, and showing support would tell me to do more Blue Lock content more often. Starting off is Ryusei Shidou's Big Bang Drive. This is the first flow state shown to us during the U20 match, in which Shidou was sent out as the U20's trump card. In this match, we see he's able to enter flow state so easily because of Ryusei Itoshi's insane playmaking and trust in his trump card. This flow state enhances Shidou's already insane spatial awareness and allows him to get insane shots off. In the U20 match, he makes an insane shot from way out with a bicycle kick and put the U20 team up by 1 point, and scoring, in my opinion, the most beautiful shot in the Blue Lock manga to date. One thing that's clear to us about the state is that Ryusei Itoshi is the catalyst for it. Isagi even picks up on this, saying, "With the guidance of the prodigy Ryusei Itoshi, the demon has awoken," of course in reference to Shidou. This wasn't it for his flow, however. Later on in the match, he completely blows through Ryo's defense with pure physical abilities and takes another impossible shot, and he would have made it if not for Gagamaru's insane body. Next up is the king, Shouei Barou. Barou's style of soccer is the perfect counter for his enemies who have a good understanding of soccer. Barou's insanely selfish playstyle allows for confusion to be bred in the mind of enemies because nothing of the sort is to be expected. This is heavily emphasized when he's put out his Blue Lock's trump card after Shidou's insane goal. As soon as he comes out, he steals the ball from his own teammate Isagi, and he says he's Isagi hunting. This is obviously a reference to devouring a player in order to evolve yourself, an almost perfect description of pure ego. After this, he completely destroys Hayate's defense and blows right through him. He gets to their laugh louder defense, Darai, and tricks him just as easily with his playstyle and takes a shot from the corner, but it sadly hit the post. Later on in his flow state, he bashes through the defenders with them literally on his back, devours Isagi once again, and hits a game-tying shot. Barou's flow also allows him to bypass the foresight of people like Rin Itoshi and effectively stay off the grid to hit another game-tying goal versus Rin and his team. The way Isagi explains it is that Rin can't predict Barou's selfish playstyle, which is consistent with what we see later, making Barou a kind of bug in Rin's system, and Isagi plans to abuse that bug to beat Rin. Next up is Blue Lock's heart, Isagi Yoichi. The first glimpse of Isagi's flow I want to touch on is his state against Rin for the first time. In this match, Isagi realized that Rin was way out of his league and made it his goal to completely beat the prodigy in order to win Bachira back. When in his flow state, Isagi destroys the normal thought process he would have, much like Barou, and begins to play more chaotically and doing things that people can't predict, even Rin. This is what allowed him to get an insane inverse shot off on Rin and tie the match for Bachira. His state also allows him to take his spatial awareness and prediction to another level, to predict everyone on the field and counter Rin who he was faced with. Later, in chapter 103, he shows another glimpse of his abilities when he realizes that his thoughts can't keep up with his own insight. The transition between the two and then going on to physically move were just too slow, so he had no choice but to cut one out. Just then, Isagi had successfully begun to move without thinking, just by intuition alone. Basically, Ultra Instinct but for soccer moves. Isagi stays behind watching for a bit, waiting for his perfect time. When the time came, he blew through Rin and Shidou and hit an amazing game-winning shot, putting his team up by 1. By what Ego calls a miracle, in that moment, Isagi was able to surpass both Rin and Shidou. Moving on is Blue Lock's genius, Rin Itoshi. Rin's flow state is very similar to Barou and Shidou's, but a bit more well-rounded. When he first enters the state, he's able to match Ryusei and Shidou's spatial awareness and predict what Ryusei would do with the ball, effectively stopping his pass to Shidou. Due to this flow state's sole purpose being to kill Ryusei's playstyle, he has to effectively think like Ryusei and do things that he wouldn't usually do, which works out very well for him. In flow, Rin leaves behind his beautiful form that we see up until now for a more chaotic form, which includes stealing the ball from his own teammate. This of course gives him a boost while attacking just like Barou, since he can confuse enemies, but is complemented insanely well with his logistical skills and the way he picks up on people's abilities, allowing him to directly counter most defenders and destroy them in a hideous way, bringing him what Aiku calls multiple levels ahead of before. When facing Aiku, his style makes it so Aiku's analytical mind can't even read him, and he probably would have broken past Aiku if not for Shidou. Shidou's sudden appearance on the field as someone Aiku has data on made it so his analytics were more grounded, but Rin keeps running with Shidou on his back. Rin makes it to his shine shot after breaking through the rest of the defenders, but with this shot sadly at the goalpost, leaving only 1 minute left in the U20 vs Blue Lock match. With Sei running to the second ball and blowing through Blue Lock's defense, he didn't even notice Rin's ego was still at full blast and is faced with his brother once again. Sei tries to put Rin down with his words, but Rin gets rid of any concept of meaning in any of these words his brother is throwing at him. Brother of a genius, partner, rival, all of this is meaningless to Rin, because he only believes in himself. He is a pure egoist. The final matchup of the U20 begins, and Rin is able to match and keep up with Sei, and even get the ball out from under his brother's feet, and in range of a shot from Isagi Yoichi, leading him to score an amazing goal and win the match for Blue Lock. Now to wrap up, Rin's flow state is a force to be reckoned with. On his own, he's able to blow past defense, and he's able to match his brother Ryusei Shidou, even if he was holding back to some degree in this match. Rin tried to leave everything behind, including his plays with Isagi in the state, but he couldn't help but send it his way, and of course Isagi was there with the key piece of luck. Maybe there's something more to this young duo than just good plays, but that's a video for another day. Moving on is Blue Lock's monster, Bachira. Now Bachira, as we know, is a force to be reckoned with while attacking. Defenders have almost no counters to his instinctual dribbling and playmaking. But in Bachira's flow state, it gets even more intense. Bachira, when faced with the reality that he may not be able to play with Isagi anymore, and Isagi's insane improvement, was pushed to a state of evolution and entered his flow, giving into his monster's voice. However, this does almost nothing for him, as Isagi continues to nearly score a final goal ending the game, probably sealing the fate of Bachira. After this, Bachira decides to forget all about his monster and stop chasing him, leaving behind the prison of his own mind. Bachira continues to blow past Isagi with insanely wild dribbling. Even Isagi knows he isn't the same as before. He continues to go through Shigiri and encounters Barou, but breaks him with another nutmeg. Isagi then notes that Bachira is only about 40 meters from the goal and calls him the Joker that no one can beat. He's then boxed in by Barou, Nagi, and Shigiri 3-on-1, but Bachira uses a lift and hits the ball past the defenders, and Nagi attempts to tackle him, but Bachira escapes with a spin and learns that he has most fun playing alone and being selfish. Stepping on his monster and leaving Isagi behind, Bachira takes a beautiful shot, but it was intercepted and blocked by Isagi, after Isagi analyzed and devoured Bachira, with the narrator even saying that at that time Isagi truly surpassed Rin. However, fate was not in Isagi's favor, as the ball ended up being rebounded into Rin's area, and he took the final game-winning shot. Later on in the U20, he enters the flow state once again. In this state, he's one of the few who are able to trick Oliver IQ's analytical eye and smash through his defense with a monster lift. Bachira's monster trance is insanely useful and leads to him nearly scoring a goal in his very first play of the U20 match, but the shot was blocked by Sendo. After his training with Ginga Levijo, Bachira gained more skills with his dribbling. How I look at it, after gaining insight from his master, he was able to seize his monster and even multiply its effectiveness, giving him near infinite options while dribbling and attacking. With this Ginga X monster style dribbling, he's able to effectively battle with Kunigami, blowing past his defense with a heel-to-heel wide touch and leaving him in his dust. Soon after, he's encountered by two defenders and passed the ball instead of keeping it for himself, which he probably would have done before his training. His team quickly got the ball back to him in the penalty area, where he scored a freestyle chemical reaction goal, putting Spain up by 1 point. This Bachira showed his advanced maturity and patience in contrast to his childlike playstyle in the Blue Lock facility. This state is insanely useful and allows him to blow through defenders at an almost scarily effective rate and hit nice shots. Now that we have the top 5 flow states down, we can finally get into ranking them. Starting off at number 5, this unfortunately has to go to Isagi. Now I do firmly believe that Isagi will implant himself into soccer's history and lead Japan in the future of the Blue Lock manga, but currently Isagi is simply a playmaker who is above average in most statistics. Now while that is deadly on the field, he can't do all that much on his own. Most of it is dependent on who he has by his side, which is not bad, but since his state so heavily relies on who's around him, in order for him or others to score a goal, it's very shaky in ranking, which is why it lands him at number 5. Moving on to number 4, my personal favorite on the list is Ryusei Shidou. Ryusei Shidou, much like Isagi, has trouble making plays on his own if his opponents aren't just below his level by a good margin. As I mentioned before, the catalyst for Shidou's flow state has always been Sei, a player known as the best in Japan and part of the new generation World 11. Ryusei is an insanely good player with beautiful shots that are basically impossible for anyone else to make, but the setup for the shots are just nearly impossible without someone like Sei on the field, controlling his wildness and harnessing it into a goal. Now up at number 3 has to be Blue Lock's genius Rin Itoshi. Being in Sei's shadow and left behind, Rin was given new purpose, to destroy and surpass his brother. In his flow state, this dream became something that actually seemed like could be brought to reality, but only after he left everything behind and began to play chaotically. In this state, he's able to think similarly to how Sei does, in a beautifully destructive type mindset, but due to his unbridled anger, he comes off as more destroying things in a disgusting manner. In the last minute of the U20 match, he's able to contest with his brother on a pretty high level. Now, although Sei wasn't giving his all in this match, the fact that Rin's flow was able to boost him to these heights where before no one in Blue Lock could even compare to Sei is pretty telling. This state is amazing at defending and has pretty good speed as well, but due to his brief appearance, we don't get to see all of what it can do, so just based on its defensive showings and clash with Sei, it gains a spot at 3rd place. On to number 2, in my opinion, goes to Blue Lock's monster, Bachira. This may be a controversial opinion, but let me explain. Bachira, while in his Ginga X monster flow state, is an absolute demon. The way he actually blows away the defense is utterly insane. His mature style is exactly what he needed to evolve him to the next level and allow him to have more options while attacking. The only real problem with Bachira's flow state is his shooting, but this isn't as much as a problem as it is one person on this list is just better than him at it. And that person, of course, is 1st place, the king of Blue Lock, Barou. Barou, when he goes into his flow state, becomes a shot-sinking king that almost no one on defense can hold. When he goes into flow, the only thing that the other team can do is hope the goalie is God or something, because he will run through that field with defenders on his back and take an outstanding shot. Much like Bachira, he has the ability to utterly destroy defenses, but Barou can also successfully shoot from outside of the penalty box, which makes his flow just that much more valuable than Bachira's. Not to mention Barou's insane stamina, which is why he gets the top place on my list. That's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget that all of this is just my own opinion. If you disagree, go ahead and leave a comment down below. And also, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to show me that you like more Blue Lock content in the future. Goodbye.